All right. Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about surfaces. So you see I'm on solids and I go over to the surfaces tab. These are not solid objects. These are just the outside surfaces of something. Then those could be knitted together to make a solid later on. So kind of the first things are there's the standard primitive type of shapes also. But you can see they're not capped at all, because they're just the side surfaces of the object. We can use this, we can do that and create a patch and add that in, and it will close off that face. But we can see that there's still different surfaces. So if I did that again here, so I have the extrude on those surfaces there, and then the two ends. And then I can go down and I can stitch those together. Oh. Grab those surfaces, say OK, and once I've stitched them together, you can see they turn into a body. If it closes it up, it turns into a body. It's good. It's kind of the first step on it there. I can also create sketches to create surfaces. If I create a sketch and I use a spline, so I create that and I click on the checkbox, or I can right click and say OK to finish it. I get that. Now I could go in and I could do an extrude on that. Or if I created a new construction plane over somewhere else, I could sketch there. And let's say I'm just gonna do that shape. And now I can just do a loft between those two edges. So I can get to a kind of a complex shape that's based on sketches, like that. And again, all the same options we have within solids for lofting. We can use rails, we can use center lines, all of that stuff. If I have a surface and I want to kind of turn this into a 3D object, I'm going to create an offset, pick that surface, and then create an offset surface from that. So if I did this and I wanted to close it up, now I could loft between those two edges, and then just keep doing that, lofting between the edges to kind of close it up. And then I can go back and do the stitch, pick it, pick all the faces of it, and say OK. And now that gets turned into the solid. So that's kind of where we can go from here. So we can get more complex shapes than just that. We can also, if I had, actually I'm gonna go back to just here. I could create a box. Let's just create something down here. So, let's say I have a box here. Kind of pulled that down there, so it was overlapping my surface. Now I could go in and I could split my body, so I could split that body there. And the splitting tool, instead of using a plane like we did before, I can use that surface and say OK. And now you can see that body's been split in two, so I can delete that top one. I can delete that surface. Now I've modified the top of that part, kind of like using that edge face, but kind of with a more defined surface used for it. So that gives me that option. I go back to surfaces. We've got some other, so extrude, revolve, all those same ones. This patch one talked about a little bit, but I'm going to show you some other things for that. Maybe I want a really complex surface. And so I'm going to create a sketch. I'm just going to pick, it doesn't really matter because I'm going to go down here and I'm going to turn on the 3D sketch. And now when I create a sketch, I can tell it which kind of plane I want to draw on and where I want it to be positioned. So I'm going to just draw something like this, right click OK. And I'm not going to leave the sketch, I'm just going to start again. Now I want to start there and tell it I want to go this way. And so you can see it's changed that way. Say OK. And so you can see it's coming out for me. I can also click on the object on a point. And I can move it on any of those directions that I want. There we go. Create another spline. I'm going to start on this point. And yeah, I'm going to go that way. I'm just going to do something like that now. And again, start here, go on this plane. All right. So there, I've gone through and I've made 4 different sketches, or 4 different splines that are all connected to each other that are in 3D space. So I can finish that. And now I can do that patch and pick on there. And you can see it's using all 4 of those edges to create that surface. So here's that surface that I just created. There's also other things I can do to that. So if I go back and edit that sketch, say I'll pick that, and I go from here, and I tell it to go, I want this to go way up high, and then I want to come back down over here. Okay, so I did that. Maybe I want to see what that looks like. So I'm going to do the patch. I'm going to pick here. Now this interior rails, I'm going to grab that, and it's going to pull that up there. So you can see now that I have a lot more control over how the surface is going to look. If I don't like exactly what that's going to be, escape out, move, grab that point, go back into the sketch, move, grab that point, and now I can drop it down a little bit. Maybe I want this not to be just smooth, I want it to have a dip there. So maybe I want to create a sketch here, start here, and I'll tell it to go on that plane. So I'm going to have it come down, up to there, down, and over there. Now I can do that same patch again, pick my outside, pick my interior rails, and grab both of those. So you can see it's following those edges. So you can use this to make really complex things, like a grip for a joystick or a handlebar or something like that, or the front of a camera or anything. So there's that surface. Now I can do whatever else I need to do. Have this be the front of something, so I can use it as a cutoff, a part of a solid, or I could come back in here and go to thicken. Where we go. If I use the thicken command to pick on that surface, I can tell which way I want it to go, and it's automatically going to create a body from that surface. So it's going to go back, add the thickness, and kind of do an extrude from that complex surface. Go back here. And so the one we haven't talked about yet is this ruled. So if I go to ruled, I have a couple options here. So if I just pick an edge, I can tell it to be normal. And so now it's going to try and make it perpendicular to that surface. And then I can adjust kind of the angle from that. So I can adjust the length, the angle. I could have it be tangent, or at the 0 degrees here on the angle. Now it's going to stay tangent to the surface. And it's just going to kind of extend out the surface, keeping all the curvature and everything that was there. Or I can use direction, and this I can tell it a specific direction I want it to go, and then control the angles from that direction. So I could just say tangent, extend that out there, and kind of build it like that. Or now if I want to go down, see, it's trying to chain that because this is a separate piece than this. So those are two separate pieces, so I can join those together by stitching them. Now that's one edge there. Now if I go to ruled surface, I pick it, it makes the entire outside. So if I told direction that way, I could come down a certain amount, kind of like adding the thickness to it or whatever. So, all right, this is the basics of using surfaces. Try them out. There are things that you don't use all the time, but if there's a specific need for it, for like the hull of a boat or something like that, these are kind of the only ways to do those types of shapes. So, all right, I'll talk to you later.